Hey everyone, welcome to Everyday English Pod. Today we're going to be talking about the weather,
Okay.
which I know might sound kind of basic,
Yeah,
but it's something we all talk about every day.
right. It's like the universal icebreaker.
Exactly. And even if you know the basics, like sunny, rainy, hot, cold,
Yeah.
there's so much more to it,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're learning English.
Absolutely.
So we're going to dive into some really useful phrases,
Okay.
different ways to start those weather conversations, and how to
Yeah.
keep them going naturally.
I like it.
Let's get started.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first things first. How do we even begin talking about the weather?
Well, the simplest way is to
Ah.
just ask a direct question.
Like
Like,
what?
how's the weather today? Or,
Yeah,
beautiful day, isn't it?
right.
These are great because they're friendly
Yeah,
and they usually get a positive response.
I use those all the time.
Me too. It's just an easy way to connect.
But what if I want to have more of a conversation?
Well, then you could try something a little more open-ended.
Okay.
Something like, the weather's been crazy lately, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Right. It kind of invites people to share their thoughts.
And their experiences.
Exactly.
It's like everyone has a weather story these days.
For sure, especially with all the crazy changes.
Totally. So instead of just getting a yes or no,
Mm-hmm.
you're actually getting people to,
To elaborate.
right, to tell you what they're thinking.
Yeah. And it makes it more of a back and forth.
Now, another thing I do
Yeah.
is just make a specific observation.
Oh, interesting.
You know, like instead of just saying, it's hot,
Right.
I might say, this sun is so strong today.
I see.
Or if it's raining, wow, it's really coming down out there.
Makes it more vivid.
Yeah, and it gives the other person something specific to react to.
That makes sense.
Sometimes I'll even add a little personal touch.
Oh, how do you do that?
Like I might say, I had to dig out my winter coat this morning. I wasn't expecting it to be so cold. Or I got caught in that downpour earlier. I'm soaked.
It makes it more relatable.
Right. And then they might share their own experience.
For sure. Like, oh, me too. I had to run for cover.
Exactly. And sometimes if the weather's really wild,
Yeah.
I might even use a little humor.
Oh, I love that.
Like, I think my umbrella is going to take flight in this wind.
That's great.
Or if it's scorching hot, I
Yeah.
might say, it feels like I'm melting out here.
People can definitely relate to that.
Right. So we've talked about how to start the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's get into how to talk about different types of weather.
Okay. Sounds good.
So when it's sunny,
Yeah.
you can use phrases like, what a gorgeous day, isn't it?
Yes. Or it's perfect weather for a walk.
Exactly. And those phrases kind of naturally lead to talking about,
Outdoor activities.
yeah, going to the park.
Having a picnic.
Exactly. Now, what about when it's raining?
Well, you could say something like, it's pouring,
Yeah,
or I hope this rain stops soon.
which it never does.
Sometimes it feels like it never does.
And you know what else I say when it's raining?
What's that?
It's raining cats and dogs.
Oh, that's a classic.
I know, it's a little cheesy,
Yes.
but people get it,
They do?
especially if they're learning English.
It's a fun one.
Okay, so let's talk about when it's cold. You know, you could say, it's freezing out here.
I can't feel my toes.
Or, I need another layer, I'm still cold.
Yeah. And those phrases are great because almost everyone can relate to them,
Especially in the winter.
especially in the winter.
What about when it's windy?
Oh, windy.
You could say, this wind is wild.
Or hold on to your hat.
Yeah.
I've definitely lost a hat or two to the wind.
Me too. And finally, let's not forget about hot weather.
Okay.
You know, you could say, it's scorching out there.
It's like an oven.
I could fry an egg on the sidewalk.
Okay, that one's a bit of a stretch.
I know, but it gets the point across.
It does.
So now we've got phrases for different types of weather. But how do we keep the conversation going?
Oh, good question.
Like, let's say someone says, wow, it's hot today.
Yeah.
How can we respond in a way that keeps things flowing?
Well, you could agree and add something like, yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be this hot.
Uh-huh.
Or it's definitely unusual for this time of year.
Right. And that could lead to a conversation about,
Typical weather patterns.
yeah, or climate change.
Exactly.
Another thing you can do is ask for their opinion.
Like,
Do you enjoy this kind of weather? Or what's your favorite type of weather?
oh, that's a good one.
It shows you're interested in what they think.
Yeah. And it keeps the conversation personal.
Okay, so now let's talk about how to use weather to transition to other topics.
Ooh, this is a fun one.
It's a great way to keep the conversation moving.
And make it more interesting.
For example, let's say it's a beautiful sunny day. You
Yeah.
could say, it's such a nice day, perfect for going to the park. Have you been to any good parks around here?
Smooth transition.
Yeah, right. From weather to parks.
And then you could talk about
different parts.
outdoor activity.
Maybe even plan a trip together.
Exactly. Or if it's raining, you could say something like,
Oh, I've been stuck inside all day because of this rain. Have you seen any good movies lately?
that's a good one.
So you're going from rain to movies.
Yeah, or you could even talk about books or TV shows.
Anything you do indoors.
Exactly. And if it's cold out,
Mm-hmm.
you could say something like, brrr,
Yeah.
it's freezing. I'm craving a hot chocolate. Do you have a favorite coffee shop around here?
That's a good one. So you're going from cold weather to hot drinks.
And then you can talk about different cafes or
Yeah.
maybe even grab a drink together.
Exactly. And what about if it's really hot out?
Well, you could say something like, this heat is brutal. It makes me want to just lay on the beach all day. Do you like going to the beach?
And from there, you could talk about
Beaches.
vacations.
Summer plans.
Exactly. So you see how easy it is to use weather
As a starting point.
to talk about all sorts of things.
It's a natural way to connect.
And keep the conversation flowing.
Now let's talk about how to use weather to discuss plans.
Okay.
This is especially useful when you're making plans with someone.
Right.
Like if the forecast is looking good, you could say, the weather's supposed to be nice this weekend. Are you doing anything outdoors?
And then they might say,
Oh yeah, I was thinking about going hiking.
or I'm having a barbecue.
Or maybe we could go to the park together.
Exactly. And if the forecast is bad, you could say, it looks like it's going to rain all weekend. Got any cozy indoor plans?
Love it. That way you can talk about
Movie nights,
board games,
baking.
all those fun indoor things.
Exactly. So you see, weather can be a great way to
Start conversations
keep them going.
and even make plans. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
There's so much more we could talk about.
Like how weather affects our moods.
Oh, yeah.
Or cultural differences and how people talk about weather.
That's a fascinating topic.
But for now, I think this is a good place to stop.
I agree.
We've covered a lot of ground.
And hopefully you've learned some new phrases
New tips.
to help you talk about the weather like a pro.
In English.
Thanks for listening to Everyday English Pod, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.